Hello, we're here today at the Inverness Thistle Hotel, where we're joined by a range of businesses from the Highlands and Islands who are interested in the year of 2014. 2014 offers an unprecedented international opportunity for businesses to become involved in major sporting events, including the Commonwealth Games and the Ryder Cup.
This is the 7th of 8 events around Scotland to promote information about the opportunities that stem from the hosting by Scotland of two of the biggest events in the world, the Commonwealth Games and the Ryder Cup. And the purpose of this event today is primarily for all of you to learn more about this, and you will learn the details about this from a range of excellent speakers this morning. Paul Zealey, who is the Head of Engagement Legacy at Glasgow, Anne MacDonald and Jill Fryer from Harper MacLeod, who themselves have won a contract, so will be able to explain the experience of how they have done that. And incidentally, I think Jill has prepared a handy note of 10 tips that you have on your table. I've had a quick glance at that. Read that, take that away, don't leave it on the table, because it's very, very practical, very, very helpful, not just actually for winning contracts for the Ryder Cup and the Commonwealth Games, but generally, I think, in any application for work as to what one should bear in mind and what one should do. But of course, the main event today is really to talk about the marvellous opportunities next year. And of course, today we will hear from Paul that there's a further £20 million of new contracts and subcontracting opportunities from the existing contracts. Now, I'll leave Paul to describe the detail of that. But the purpose of this event here is to acquaint you with what is available, how to get at it, if it is of interest to you, and to give you the opportunity to succeed and benefit from that value and that contract.
Agreement early on that all contracts that were games related, whether placed by the organising committee or Glasgow City Council or other partners, would be advertised in an open, fair, transparent way. So Glasgow Business Portal was established to advertise specifically games-related contracts. We now work very closely with Public Contracts Scotland, and all of the main contracts are also advertised through PCS, and you'll hear more about that. And we have about 20,000 companies that are currently registered to receive information on the Glasgow Business Portal. I don't know if anybody here is registered. If you're not, I would advise you to do it. It only takes 5 minutes. What you'll then do is be immediately informed of any new contract opportunities that come up that the OC or our partners might place. In addition, we work very closely with Scottish Enterprise, Highlands and Islands Enterprise, and a myriad of business support agencies, including those providing support to social enterprises, to ensure that there's awareness and a willingness to compete for those contracts, to be in the best possible place to win that work. We obviously need to comply with the European procurement rules, but what we can do is have an understanding about the sorts of things we're going to buy, when we're going to buy them, in what quantities, and what sort of conditions might be attached to that, so that Scottish companies are in the best possible place to win work. And as the Minister said in the introduction, we've already let £300 million worth of contracts through the business portal from ourselves and from the Council. And about 85% of the value of those contracts has been won by Scottish companies, which I think is a terrific statistic and one we'd like to be able to maintain. You're obviously here today to know about the contracts that are still available to win. Are you too late? Is there something there? Well, the situation we're in at the moment, there's about £98 million worth of goods and services still to be contracted. Now, some of those have been advertised. Some of them are going through a process of due diligence, maybe not yet signed. Many of the ones that are in that place will have supply chain opportunities, which we're keen to promote as well. And there's about 20 million that haven't yet started the contracting phase. They tend to be ones that are of the lower value, that will be advertised in the first quarter of next year. A very, very diverse range of goods and services. If you go on the business portal today and see what we're advertising for, we're currently on at the moment for diagnostic services relating to the venues and weightlifting equipment. It's really, really wide-ranging in terms of what we need to buy. And there are huge things, beyond what you might expect for a sporting competition in terms of tents and porta cabins and fences and goods and services and things relating to medicine and cultural activities and all points in between. So I think whatever line of business you're in, it is worth being aware of the sorts of things that we're in the market for, what your company might be able to do and provide for us, and what opportunities will still be there. And I'll say again around the supply chain, because one of the things that we're keen to do, and we can do through the Glasgow Business Portal, is placing an obligation on winners of higher value contracts to ensure that their supply chain contracts are advertised through that. And one that I know is of particular interest in Highland, the catering contracts are working through that process, and so early next year is when we expect to have Meet the Buyer events, which should just really drill down and detail all the catering opportunities that will be related to activities for Glasgow 2014. So if you want to take one thing away from me today, what I would say is a fantastic chance to be involved with a world-class opportunity. You're not too late. There are plenty of business opportunities that are still there to be gathered. Registering is simple, and also there are people behind the scenes from the business development agencies that, if you've never won public sector contracts before, can take you through that process, put you in a good position.
So how did we win it? Well, the process, basically tender-based, procurement-based. So as soon as we knew that the Games were coming to Scotland, we registered with the Glasgow Business Portal as soon as that was up and running. So Paul's already mentioned that. Jonathan, I think, will cover that off as well. And it's just to show, it really does work. So there was an invitation to tender that was put out in April 2011. And at that point, we notified our interest and received the documentation. We then submitted our documentation. It was a huge undertaking by the firm. I can tell you there's a lot of blood, sweat and tears went into it, and it does take up a lot of our time, but we had to be committed to the process. There was then a short list. It was whittled down. It was a really hotly contested appointment because it was UK-wide firms that were going for it. So we were up against, the big boys, really. If you think we're from Inverness, Thurso, Glasgow and Edinburgh, and we were up against, Magic Circle firms. So it was absolutely fantastic. The tender, clarification and presentations, there was a series of them and a series of meetings to get to the final appointment, which was in August. So what is our role? In terms of being a legal advisor, we're supporting the in-house legal team at Commonwealth House within the organising committee. So we have 5 full-time secondees that work within the in-house legal team, 2 commercial lawyers, 1 construction lawyer and 2 intellectual property branding lawyers. We then have a sub-team that work within Harper McLeod, which is based throughout the whole firm. So within Harper McLeod, there's 306 staff. So there's about 24 of a core team that are working on games contracts on a daily basis. And indeed, Jill, who is based in our Inverness office, works in the procurement and competition aspects. So it's absolutely great that we're taking the work to the Highlands as well and dealing with that out of our office.
Basically, on PCS, what you'll see there is advertisements for high-value, sort of OJU, or referred to as OJU, is the official journal of the European Union. And that's for local authorities, for example, that's in excess of 173,000, and it's a bit lower for central government, around about the 100,000 area. We're trying to get public sector organisations to advertise contracts that are over £50,000 as well. And the third tier of that really is that we have something called Quick Quote, which is proved to be incredibly popular, which is quite a quick way of, which the name suggests, I suppose, of buyers and suppliers getting together, getting quotes. It's a bit like the old-fashioned way of picking up the phone and getting 3 quotes, but it's done electronically. And again, I'll talk about that a little bit later on. In essence, it's a one-stop shop, a single access point. And we're trying to, obviously, with events like this, to make sure that the Scottish SME world have first dibs if we can.